Welcome back. Hoaxing the news media, tricking them into running stories that are just not true, is not a new phenomenon. However, it does appear to be a growth industry. Take the case of the 6-year-old American boy Falcon Heaney, whose parents fooled reporters into believing he was trapped in a homemade balloon as it floated across Colorado, tracked by the U.S. Air Force and the media, when all along the boy was hidden safely at home. The coverage, particularly on 24-hour news channels, was wall-to-wall. What motivates people to hoodwink the media? Some do it out of mischief or for the notoriety. However, as the Listening Post's Meenakshi Ravi reports, there are tricksters who believe their hoaxes serve a greater purpose than mere publicity and leaving red faces in newsrooms around the world.
Has not only not been proven, it basically doesn't exist.
He said he was from the U.S. Chamber of Commerce. He wasn't. They said this famous singer's hair caught fire. It didn't.
2,000 feet in the air.
They all thought there was a little boy in that balloon. Turns out he was hiding at home. Every one of the media stories a hoax, and journalists fell for them.
Was built by the father.
Starting with Balloon Boy. When it was reported that a 6-year-old, Falcon Heaney, was trapped in a helium balloon soaring thousands of feet above the Colorado countryside, news channels dived into the story.
Yes, he is inside the balloon.
Unbelievable pictures coming to us live.
But inside they found no boy.
24 hours of saturation coverage later, the media found out
this is a hoax, that it was a publicity stunt.
It was an elaborate setup, and the Heeneys had been hoping to land a reality TV show on the back of the publicity.
The cable channels are in desperate need, particularly in the U.S., of material with which to fill the airtime.
24-hour news has an insatiable hunger for story. And there it was. Let's not let the facts get in the way of a good story.
That's all 24-hour news is pictures and speculation.
Media hoaxes are not a new phenomenon. The most famous, the forged Hitler diaries, published in 1983 by Germany's Stern magazine and Britain's Sunday Times. There was that fake Howard Hughes autobiography in 1972, widely reported on before it was exposed. And phony pictures of British soldiers torturing prisoners in Iraq were published in 2004, costing the editor of the UK's Daily Mirror his job. But hoaxes seem to be popping up more frequently these days. Star Suckers is the new film by British director Chris Atkins.
Most of you have been unwitting participants in our greatest illusions.
His film puts forward some provocative ideas on the state of the media.
We wanted to show that there was very little truth-telling and very little fact-checking in the British tabloid media. And we also wanted to show how this has spread to all other parts of modern news.
Atkins and his team went about selling fake celebrity stories to British tabloids, which he said didn't prove difficult. Like the story about British musician Amy Winehouse.
We made up a story that she'd had some friends over, but unfortunately they played so many guitars into the amplifier that the fuses broke and all the lights went out and the power cuts. Her and a friend went down, they tried to change the fuses, Amy got an electric shock and her hair set on fire.
She has loads of books on like quantum physics.
They also said Sarah Harding of British pop group Girls Aloud had a keen interest in and vast collection of books on quantum physics. Both fake stories got published, and that Amy Winehouse yarn, the tabloids didn't just print it, they embellished it.
So when that story was printed in The Star, they added that a friend had rushed in and punched Amy in the head to put out the fire. Now, I didn't make that up. That wasn't in our story. So you see how journalists take something that's probably not true and they add value, they add their own spice to it.
Star Suckers proved how easy it is to sell fake stories about celebrities. But there are other media hoaxers out there making up the news about serious issues.
This is a movie in which the two of us fix the world.
The Yes Men have made 2 movies in which they impersonate spokespeople of major corporations, like Dow Chemical, which owns Union Carbide, whose chemical disaster in Bhopal in India in 1984 killed thousands.
Dow was refusing to accept any responsibility to compensate the survivors or clean up the site. The site has, in 25 years, still not been cleaned up. And we wanted to draw the link between Dow and Bhopal.
Joining us live.
So the Yes Men posed as Dow spokesmen and lied their way onto the BBC.
For the first time, Dow is accepting full responsibility for the Bhopal catastrophe.
Dow's share value dropped by 3.4%, partly because the BBC was not the only news organization that was fooled.
I think we succeeded in that there were over 600 articles in the US press about the catastrophe and specifically about Dow and Bhopal.
Critics of the hoax said it was cruel to raise survivors' hopes for compensation when there was none coming.
So you think this is something your members can get?
The latest victim of the Yes Men was the US Chamber of Commerce, which opposes legislation to slow the effects of global warming.
When we posed as a Chamber of Commerce spokesperson and announced a change of heart around global warming.
The Chamber of Commerce saying it will reverse its position on the climate change bill.
Fox Business Network went with it, and so did CNBC and Reuters and some other news outlets.
To reduce global carbon emissions.
People automatically invest certain people with an undue amount of credibility and believability. They don't double check that the people who are discussing a situation are actually whom they claim to be.
I'm Eric Wolfschlegel. I'm with the U.S. Chamber of Commerce.
The most stunning aspect to the latest Yes Men prank was that a real Chamber of Commerce representative tried to stop the bogus news conference and expose the Yes Men as fakes.
This guy is a fraud. He's lying.
But news outlets went with the story anyway.
I've never seen before.
Between Balloon Boy, the smoldering Miss Winehouse, and the news channels who just can't say no to the Yes Men, it's almost as though the media want to get hoaxed.
I think there is an absolute positive effect of media hoaxing because it all gets us to stand still for a second and focus on the way that news is gathered, the way that it's reported, and the way that the other media buy into this particular story.
There needs to be a real profession of journalism. Journalists need to do research, and they need to be allowed to do research and given the time and funding necessary to do it.
When we did our research, we found a media hoax that dates back to 1844. The New York Sun was fooled into publishing a story on a fictional Atlantic crossing, supposedly made in a balloon. The author of the story, American writer Edgar Allan Poe, turned out to be full of hot air. He would not be the last to hoax the media that way.
He just touched the ground.
More Global Village Voices now on hoaxing the media.
I think a media hoax, if it's well done, can be very effective. It can be a very effective use of satire in order to spark a public debate. It can highlight how a particular issue has become a sort of received wisdom and orthodoxy of the day that's not critically challenged.
I think the benefit of a hoax would be that news agencies, the journalists of our society, would be forced to be more journalistic. It would be their focus to bring facts and to find truth rather than play on hysteria, which is good for ratings, good for sales, and really focus on reporting the truth.
Finally, 2.5 years and more than 129 million viewings after the video was first posted, there is a new king of the internet hit parade charts. Actually, there are two, and they're more like princes, aged 5 and 2. Entitled "Charlie Bit My Finger Again," the YouTube clip has made unlikely international stars of British brothers Harry and Charlie Davis-Carr. They've been featured on all kinds of television shows. They even have fan clubs in Lebanon and Belize. And the two of them have now had more YouTube hits than the previous industry leader, a comical video entitled "Evolution of Dance." A 55-second video clip that was originally intended for an online audience of just one, their grandfather, has become the most watched YouTube video ever. It's our web offering of the week. We'll see you next time at The Listening Post.
Charlie bit me. Charlie! Ow! Charlie! That really hurt! Charlie bit me. And that really hurt, Charlie, and it's still hurting.